60% of people fear negative feedback stops them from posting on social media. A major reason that many people avoid being public on social media is the fear of being judged. Shelly, as someone who's built a personal brand on LinkedIn, how did you overcome that fear? We know somebody who's tuning in right now, a guest of the show, a fan of the show, one of our stands, So Young Park. We watched her doing her thing before she got the courage to post a video. Now she's a posting machine. But someone like yourself who's built that personal brand, how did you overcome that fear, Shelly? And how did you do it? What was there a specific moment or was there a specific tactic that helped you push through that fear of doing it? Shelly.
Okay, so first of all, when I first started posting on LinkedIn, I only had an audience of 500 people. So the chances of someone even seeing it were very low. So I really didn't fear that piece, right? What was more intimidating for me was going in and commenting. And because then you're getting a little bit more personal, right? You're actually talking to people one-on-one or 5-on-5 or whatever. And it's not like you're on your platform preaching to the group. So I have less of a fear of the haters than a lot of people. But what you're describing, one of my best friends, it's the exact reason she doesn't post, because she's concerned of negative feedback or trolls. And that's a real concern, right? I don't care. I'm at an age, I don't care what people think of me. And I don't care if I get some negative feedback that isn't kind or whatever, and they're assholes, I'm just going to delete and block. And it is what it is. That's how I got over it.
And Johnny, what do we like to say?
They're talking smack. You're on the right track.
Oh, I got
hit the button, baby.
There we go.
Hey, Mike McQuillan comes in and says, "Fit presenter with Shake and Mike. Haters elevate your reach more than anyone." And that is so, right? If you got no haters, nobody's listening to you. And it's funny, Marty and John, we can see the haters showing up in the comments, and every single day more show up. And I'm like, yes, they're showing up and they're hating us. And of course, we got Enzo, who's not hating us. Of course, Enzo don't hate us. We got Enzo with the old.
I think Enzo's a hater.
Enzo's a hater. Hey, Enzo, you're late, man. What are you doing? Did you hit snooze? If you hit snooze 4 times, you're many minutes late behind us. Shelly, what's an example of a post that you put up there where you had immediate regret, where you're like, oh shit, I should not have posted that. And then you did the double take. Do I take it down or do I leave it up?
Oh, wow. That is a good question. Okay. Yeah. So I posted about a time where I failed. And when I was back in sales, of course, this was mortgage several years ago, and I was running a branch and it was not going well. And I got demoted and I was butthurt. My feelings were hurt. And I quit. I'm not going to be a loan originator. I quit, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was at home nursing my wounds. And then I lived pretty close to my former branch. So I went to go pick up dinner at El Torito Grill. And who did I see? The guy that just demoted me. And I was rightly demoted, right? It wasn't working. And he was there with my replacement, the hot young guy that's about 10 years younger and built Mr. Athletic. And I'm in my piece of shit car in the El Torito waiting for my food. And I wanted to crawl under the floor mat, and it was a bad time. Thank God I don't think he saw me to this day. So a week later or so, the president of the company calls me out of the blue. And coincidentally, I had sat with him on a flight to Vegas for a big conference. So I knew him personally. And he said, "Look, Shell, I know that didn't work out, and I know your feelings are hurt, but I see a lot of great things in you. And I want you to take those talents and I want you to bring them to operations, and I want you to develop them and move up the ladder there." And I did. He brought me back, and then I made it to AVP within 2 or 3 years. And that was really the best thing that could have happened in my career, because I wasn't as well suited for the sales side. I had the personality, I could be perky and all that crap, but I don't like rejection. So of course, sales, no bueno for that kind of personality type. But so I put it up, and then 5 minutes later, I'm thinking, oh crap. Do I really want people to see this horrible, horrifying failure? And it was bad at the time, but of course I left it up, and I got a lot of good feedback. So that's probably the post that resonates most with your question.
Marty.
So I want to say this. I lived in Cali for 2 years. El Torito is fire. Great food. And I want to relate to you. I made a rule for when I post things that I regret, which happens quite often. I have a rule. F it. Leave it. You do not delete it. You leave it right there, because I had the motivation to post it as providing some type of value. But moving forward, what advice do you want to give to people that are scared to post? And two questions here. And how beneficial is it to be authentic in them posts, whether you regret it or not?
That's a good question. And I got to talk fast because I do have to get to my real job in 5 minutes. So first of all, practice your writing, right? The more you practice, then the more confident you're going to be. And don't be afraid of AI. AI can critique your post and help you get better. You still want to be yourself. You don't want to tell fake stories, but just be yourself. And trust me, if what you post is shit, the algorithm is not going to show your post to anybody. No one's even going to see. What's the risk there? And forgive me, Marty, what was your second question?
How important is it to be authentic in those posts?
Oh, yeah, you got to be yourself. I'm starting to spot the phonies, right? So I don't know how much time you guys spend on LinkedIn, but I've seen several posts that are the same posts. They talk like their personal experience, but you can't have 10 people in the same voice with the same personal experience. It's all, they're purchasing it from Taplio or something. And I'm starting to get to where I can smell that a mile away. And so it puts a bad taste in my mouth and I click unfollow. And so it's important that we let our best selves shine through because people can spot a phony. And especially if you're just going to be buying these articles from Taplio or swiping them from Chat GPT or Perplexity or whatever, people they're going to figure it out. And so you draw the right people to you when you're yourself. And so that's how I would answer that question.
Shelly Spence joining us. Shelly Spence joining us here today. Mornings in the lab with Keith, John, C. Marty Fit. She's got to wrap up here in a quick couple minutes here. Flynn, I got a question for Shelly before we say goodbye to Shelly.
I just wanted to say, I think that what you just talked about there, it's one thing to say, be your authentic self. I think the problem and the challenge that most people are having is that they're trying to do this and they don't know who the fuck they are. They don't know what their authentic self is. And so start with that. Before you ever post anything, before you ever write anything, spend some time self-reflecting and say, who am I? Who the fuck do I want to be in my life? And then how do I want to show up so that I'm attracting people that are like me? And I think that you do that, Shelly, and I really appreciate that about your content.
Awesome.
Well,
Shelly, final word to you. What do you got to say before you leave here today to go to your real job? Besides here in the morning.
I just want to say thank you for letting me come on and talk about things that I'm excited and passionate about. And I appreciate the show and I still will be tuning in.
Awesome. And what's one thing you'd leave Business Athlete Nation to take from today's conversation? Leave people with one thing as a nugget that you would love to have the audience take from you today, Shelly.
The nugget I'd leave you is do not be afraid to post. And just like Christina said, figure out who you are and write about that. Write about your professional core values, what's important to you. And if you contemplate those things and you start defining them in your head, you'd be amazed at the great content that you would come up with, right? Anyway, that is the final thought that I would leave.
And there's phone ringing, I think, as she's heading herself out of the lab here. So Shelly Spence, we appreciate you joining your mornings in the lab. You get onto where's my camera? You get onto your day job there. You keep tuning into us. We thank you for hanging out with us. And I appreciate this into the LinkedIn stuff. And you have an awesome day. Okay, Shelly?
Thank you. Bye, guys.